I'm going to shout out Lacuna because they talked about this on their podcast last night, and I thought it was a great way of putting it. But Marco Reus has become a polarizing player within the Galaxy fan base.
Yeah, that's
because
nuts.
There's people like us, right, who have been very high on Marco Reus, and I think that he provides real value, and we're going to talk about that value. But at the same time, there's a subsection of the fan base that hates his guts and thinks that he's causing us these issues, which I can tell you he's not. The reason that we're dropping points is not Marco Reus. I actually can look at the statistics and tell you that all but one of the MLS matches, he has had a goal or an assist. And I can't say that about some other players on the squad. So I think that this team is caught between two minds. We've talked about that a bunch, but I think that one of the things that it isn't doing is, while we are planning around Marco Reus, right, because we are clearly subbing him in for Sanabria, we aren't actually utilizing that in its core. So I want to talk about unlocking Marco Reus, because I think that if this season is going to tilt in a positive direction, similarly to last year, Marco Reus needs to be one of our best players. So, Dari, what have you seen from Marco recently or in these matches that maybe has you more positive on that scale than negative?
I mean, I feel like it's pretty obvious that he's one of the only players creating going forward for us. It's pretty hard given the surroundings on either side of him. He doesn't have too much help, whether it be the wingers we have in now. I mean, I think without the DPs, it seems like he has a little bit more help, honestly, sometimes. But he's isolated in there. So I don't think we're really setting him up for success. And I think that's why a lot of the fan base kind of sees him as a scapegoat. But it's tough to see. I mean, he was contributing last season. I mean, still building into the team, but in not a very good team, he was one of the only bright points. So I think it's kind of people want to scapegoat him because of the name. But if you actually look at the numbers and look at the performances, I think it's pretty obvious he's the one carrying it forward.
Yeah, agreed. I think that everything that he does is brilliant. And honestly, most of the good plays that we've had attacking have had him involved in it. Andrew, where do you kind of sit on the Marco Reus fence? I know that you and Mila talked about him in length on the 5 things, but what do you think is the evolution of this team within it and Marco Reus as maybe the culprit there?
It's, I think, a misidentification of the issue. It's kind of misdiagnosing something. I think of that classic kind of picture you might have seen in like a psych class or something, of like a stick with like 4 ends on one side and 3 ends on the other, and 2 guys pointing to it. One of them sees a 4, the other guy says a 3. They're looking at the same thing, but they both see different things. And I don't see the negative in what Marco Reus has done in a Galaxy. I'm almost going to say in a Galaxy shirt in general, but even let's just say specifically in a Galaxy shirt, especially this season, he's been phenomenal. We, like you mentioned, Dylan, we talked about it at length with Mila, but if you look at the goal, the things he's doing, it's not normal. He does those things that special players do. If you watch that replay, first of all, the intelligence, the reaction, and I think the audacity maybe is a fun word to use to pull off that back heel in that situation. You got a man on you, your goalkeeper right behind you. You're basically playing a pass with the ice on the back of your head. Like somehow he's seeing Klaus behind him. All of this is going on. He plays that pass, and the weight of it is just perfect. If it looks like it's played with like a remote control or something, the way it kind of just stops rolling right at Klaus's feet. It's just he's doing otherworldly things, alien things. Besides that, the numbers he's putting up are consistently fantastic. They're consistently really high. The only player who I think has beat him this season in terms of forward passes is Lucas Sanabria, I think once against Charlotte. So there's just nobody else doing what he's doing, like you said, Dylan. So I don't understand, again, seeing Marco Reus as a problem. To Dari's point, it's him being misused. It's something we've talked about in the seminar. We've talked about it in videos here on this channel. It's Vanny not setting up Reus for success, leaving him on that island. We used the word isolated. Dari said it a little bit ago. It's just he has him in this 9th spot, which is we're seeing the impact he's doing. What all the good stuff we're talking about, he's done in that kind of isolated role. But again, you just think this isn't the best way to use him. Marco Reus has another gear. The LA Galaxy with Marco Reus has another gear. But we're just deciding not to use it. It's like, having a Ferrari and driving it 40. You know, it's a very confusing thing, but that's just a situation. What can Marco Reus do when he's not allowed to be a prancing horse?
Oh, that's a fantastic analogy. It's like having a Ferrari and going 40.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to give Vanny some credit. I thought in this one, this wasn't really much of the issue. It was like a tactical setup thing for me. My issue is we don't play direct enough. And I think that is causing Marco to drop super deep because he's feeling that he needs to be this like creative force. And watching it in person, it was so stark. Like the level of frustration that he's having because the game is moving so slow for him, but so much faster for everyone else, if that makes sense, that he's starting to get really frustrated because nobody's in sync with him. And I think we talked about this with Nasi a little last year, but that was really one of the big things was the one player that was keeping up with Marco was Nasi. And we'll talk about him a little later, but I don't like Klaus is great and he provides a little something different, but him and Marco still aren't on the same page outside of the in the box stuff. And that's really where unlocking Reus is big for me, because when we don't play direct, and if you want to get critical of Greg Vanny's tactics in general and the like passing back and stuff, I actually don't think that's an issue. Holding possession is not an issue, but if you're not going to be direct with that possession, then there's no point in holding it. And too many times Marco is having to drop out of dangerous positions to pick up the ball to then be that direct player. And we're never going to succeed that way if we're constantly playing that way. I also just think that if the guys around him played better, and we'll transition to Peck here in a second, but if Peck plays better, if Tommy plays a little better, if Klaus puts away a shot, we don't have this conversation because the only guy who created in this one was Reus, and he had 7 chances created. And that he's always the leader in that stat. So I feel for Vanny in that sense, because what do? You don't have a creator in this team. We got a 9 instead. We said that Marco Reus was going to be our creator, and you have to live with those cards. But I think that there are things that we can do, and we'll talk about that a little later. So I just think that every time that this podcast gets a chance to like do a bright light on Marco Reus, because I think he's been great, we should do it, because I think the overall feelings on him have been way too far in one direction for me.